What is going on, gamers? We're here with my boy David. David, what have you done?
So at the 1K I played Alphamon, pretty popular deck. I think we had a few tops with Alphamon in this event. So I'll just go through my list. Like a lot of it's give a bit of a shout out to Wayne Zero. I kind of like stole a lot of this off like someone who topped and he got on his channel and kind of talked about his deck, and I kind of liked a lot of the things he said about that deck, so I kind of followed that deck, not to a T, but it's very similar to that deck.
Good YouTuber.
Yeah, great YouTuber. So getting to the eggs, 4 Doraemons, pretty standard. You don't want to play any other egg. You just want 4 Doraemons. What Doraemon does, when you shuffle something underneath your source, which this deck does a lot of, you draw a card, which is pretty critical because obviously when you shuffle cards under, you're losing resources from your hand, and this is just the easy way to reload them. So, you know, perfect egg. I wouldn't change it for anything else. I don't think anyone else does either. So that's at 4 eggs for there. All right, we'll go through the rookies. So first rookie for Doraemon. This rookie is amazing. It's good in every single situation. It's the best rookie to put on your stack. It's almost the best rookie to play onto field to search for stuff. And it's just an amazing target to shuffle under. So we'll talk about both of its effects. Its on play is reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add a coded Tomato, which is your memory tamer, or an X Antibody. So it can search pretty much all of your pieces in the deck, and it's coded Tomato. Usually I try to avoid hard playing this because I really want it for its inheritable and its stack purposes. So its inheritable is whenever you put something underneath the stack, you gain 1 memory. So that can be really critical because that can be the difference between you being able to go into Ryukin mode in 1 turn or not being able to go into Ryukin mode. So I always think he's the best one to put in the stack. But even if you hold this in your hand and shuffle it under later, you still get that memory gain.
That's so good.
Even better, you have it on the stack, you shuffle 1 under, you gain 2 memory. Like, that's what I mean. This card's just freakily good. Like, it's by far the best rookie in this deck.
You'd play 8 if you could.
Yeah, pretty much. I wouldn't play, if I could play multiple copies of it, I wouldn't play any other rookies. It's really good. We'll get on to a couple other rookies. I don't play a lot of rookies in this deck, and I'll explain why after I go through them. I've got 2 Sunorisamons. Personally, I think this is a good card. Some people aren't as high on it as me. It just gives you extra security attack. The downside, and everyone will probably be like, oh, extra security attack, that sounds great, right? But obviously the downsides to it is, because it's not an X antibody, it doesn't synergize with a lot of what the deck does. You can't search it, for one. You can't discard it off Ryukin mode, and things of that nature. But the reason I like it is if you do miss the Duragreymon, it does give you sec attack. Also, a lot of the time when you play Duragreymon, you feel the need to shuffle a second Duragreymon underneath to get to 3 checks or 2 checks, things of that nature. Whereas if you have this on field, you don't feel as likely to put that extra Duragreymon under, if that makes sense. And you can save that to build another stack if things go wrong for you. So I like it. Don't get me wrong, I'd rather have this on my stack every day of the week besides this. But the other reason I like to play this is the other rookies I play feel horrible putting on the stack, and this one just feels slightly better. So more or less so I can have 6 targets that I want to put on my egg.
Yeah, straight on that egg stack.
That
makes sense.
2 Ryudomon. You want to avoid putting Ryudomon on your stack if you can, because his inheritable sucks. I'm not going to even talk about his inheritable because it's that bad. Mainly you're playing him for his on play. His on play is flip top 3 cards, add a Yuji Musha, which is really critical, and I'll talk about that a little bit. If one of the changes I want to make to this deck is my ratios for Yuji, so getting Yuji is really important. And it gets you an X antibody, kind of similar to Doraemon as well. So he's a really good searcher. You want to kind of hard play this one. I guess if you don't see any other rookies, you can put him on your stack, but like I said, you want to try to avoid that and put one of those 6 targets I showed before on there. Last rookie is just one of the BT9 Doraemon. So his one is you can trash an X antibody, and you just draw 2 cards from your deck. So you never really want to put this guy in the stack similar to Ryudomon. You kind of want to hard play him. It's one of the reasons I'm only playing him at 1. Sometimes we'll talk about the combo a little bit later, but sometimes you need to get your Oriamon in your bin. And sometimes you don't see the Dex Daruga or the other level 5 one. So this can be another way to cheat that Oriamon into your bin.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of what I used him for. Sometimes you just cool, I'll just throw Ryudomon in my bin and draw 2 cards. Just something like that. So that's kind of what I use him for. Now, you might be wondering why the rookie count's so low. Number 1, we were playing Mulligan format.
Yep.
So you only need to, as long as you see one rookie, you're fine. The other reason is, this isn't like a zoo deck like whatsoever. And you flip like maybe 2 eggs, maybe 3 in a game. So realistically, you only need to see like 2 rookies, maybe 3 rookies in a whole game. So you can keep your rookie count quite low in this deck, if that makes sense. That's pretty much my reasoning for my rookie count, and obviously went through one by one why I play the rookies I do. All right, we'll get into our champions. Champions are pretty set in stone. I don't think that you're ever going to see an Alphamon deck that has different champion lineup to what I'm going to show you. So we got 4 Darugumon. Darugumon, it was weird. Like in BT8, it was probably the worst level 4, and now it's actually super relevant having that extra 1000 DP.
Yeah.
So we'll go through Darugumon's effects. When it has an X antibody in its sources or an X antibody on the field with it, it's a blocker. Whoop-de-doo, that doesn't really come up that much, to be completely honest. It's inheritable, though, of getting 1000 DP is super relevant. Like, if you're playing the mirror, you need that extra 1000 DP to swing over the Yoryuken modes that can be in their security. And another thing, when you're, like, there's not a lot of things that change throughout the matchups. Alphamon kind of plays into a lot of decks exactly the same. It's one of the advantages of Alphamon. It can kind of beat anything or it can lose to anything. It's like a little bit like playing Solitaire. But one of the few things you do need to know, if you're playing the mirror, you need to keep this in your stack. So it's probably the only thing I'll say about that. And I'll talk about when we throw cards away and things like that later. The other 4 of is Dex Darugumon. Now, another reason why we play Darugumon is you can Digivolve Dex Darugumon on top of it for 0. What Dex Darugumon does is you can trash a card. Normally you want to trash Oriyomon, which we'll talk about a little bit later and why you want to do that. When you trash a card, you gain a memory. So you Digivolve for free, gain a memory straight off the bat for trashing card, and usually that card you're trashing is a card you want to trash too. The other thing it does is it gives you retaliation and blocker. That can be really handy, especially against things like Grandis. Even like Imperial Dramon, it's pretty good against. Like, getting like a big blocker body out in field really makes you think about your opponent swinging into you. It doesn't come up so much in the mirror because normally their stack is going to be protected by their own things, as we'll get into later. But yeah, the other thing is you get like 2 cool boys on field. You already have this in raising. You slap that down, you're gaining 3 memory. Like, you got a memory setter, it's like, cool, I'm at 6 memory now. Like, so it's really good. It's
pretty nuts.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't have a ton to say here because if you look at any Alphamon deck profile, this is going to be their list. I don't think anyone's going to change that. And you probably, if you watch a few videos, you'll probably get the gist of it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we'll get into level 5s. Now, the super obvious one here for Greymon. Both of its effects are freaking amazing. So it's on Digivolve effect, so you rarely want to Digivolve this in raising because its Digivolve effect is just so powerful. Like, sometimes, depending on what the board state's like, you might need to do it in raising, but personally, you've got so much memory game that you can normally play this the same turn you go into your Oryuken mode. So it's on Digivolve effect, is you can place X antibody underneath to make it not be able to be deleted by card effects, so that can be retaliation, that can be Gaia forces, all sorts of things. And it can't have his DP reduced, so no Wyvern's Breaths or, Spiral Masquerades or like Sunshine Busters, any of that is going to be able to touch it.
Yep.
Which is really good. It lasts for your turn when you're swinging into the stack and the next turn. So it makes it really difficult for your opponent to get rid of your stack, and that's really good. Its inheritable is amazing as well. Gives you sec attack +1. It just means you hit like an absolute truck with this. So like I said, usually a lot of the time, I'd say the shuffle under targets you mainly want with this is either another one, so you're hitting for 3. Yeah. Another reason why I kind of like the Tsuneraizamon, because then you don't have to waste the second one. You can
that makes sense.
Or I'd say the second best target is that Duramon, because sometimes you might. The critical number you want to get to with Alphamon is normally 6. So if you just happen to be at 5, you Digivolve into this, you're at 2, right?
Yep.
Then if you Digivolve into Alphamon, you've passed the turn, right? Thing is, if you've got this, you shuffle this under, you're back at 3, you go to Alphamon, you still haven't passed the turn.
Yeah.
So like that's why this can be important, and why I think this is a really good target for this in a lot of cases. Cool. I don't think anyone's going to argue about this. This is pretty much an automatic 4 of in this deck as well.
Card's insane.
All right. This is where things might change a little bit. I only play 2 of the deck's Dora Greymons. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a bad card. It's a good card, but you don't want to see more than 1 of it again.
Yeah.
So what it does is it digivolves to 0 off Dora Greymon, similar to Dex Daruga. Its effect is if you sorry, it digivolves for 1, not for 0. You can toss a card away and it will delete something level 4 or lower. So it can get rid of annoying blockers, memory blockers, things of that nature. So it can be really handy. Mainly I use this to get rid of memory blockers most of the time, or actual blockers.
And you gain a memory too.
Yeah, you gain a memory.
So you get that memory
more or less you end up playing it for 0. I just kind of misspoke. You play it for 1, then you trash something and you play it for 2. It's also, if you don't see the Dex Daruga, you can use this to trash your Oriamon as well.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But I will say, one of the main reasons I only run this at 2, if you do not see the Dura Greymon, which you will have games where you do not see the Dura Greymon, it's a 4 of, right?
Yep.
This feels horrendous to put on your level 4s.
Oh yeah.
You really don't want to play this unless you have that Dura Greymon. So when I was playing this at 3, I originally played it at 4 to see what it was like, cut it to 3 pretty quickly, and then I've cut it back to 2. So I think 2's right. It's not a terrible card by any means, but it's definitely not a card you want to put on your stack without the Dura Greymon. So I feel 4 Dura Greymon, 2 of this, that's kind of a good ratio for that hit, if you know what I mean. Now,
I dig it.
One card that you might not see in a lot of lists, I really like it. Another shout out to that guy on Huang Zero. He kind of sold me on this card. Now, we got Grademon. The reason I played Grademon is very similar to the reason why I play Sunarisamon. It's worse than Dura Greymon, but it's a lot better than Dex Dura Greymon, if you know what I mean. So I kind of have it as a one of. It's if I don't see if this could be another Dura Greymon, I just play a 5th Dura Greymon.
Yeah, you wish.
Normally I play this when I haven't seen Dura Greymons on my stack. The other good thing about that is it's on Digivolve effect, even though it doesn't give you that protection. Usually when you're playing this, you're missing pieces.
That's true.
And what this does is when you Digivolve, you flip the top 3, you add an Alphamon to your hand, and out of those 3 sources, you can shuffle 1 underneath. The amount of times I would Digivolve into this and be like, oh, damn, I haven't seen my Dura Greymon, then flip this and go, cool, put the Dura Greymon.
That's so good.
It's not bad. The other thing is, it's not a bad thing to shuffle underneath. It's inheritable is end of attack. If you have Alphamon in your name, which most of our megas do, you delete something with play cost of 5 or less. So sometimes it can be a target for shuffling this under. If they've got so say they got 2 memory blockers, right?
Yep.
You play this, you shuffle this under. You play the Dex to blow up 1 memory blocker, and when you attack, you blow up the other memory blocker.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's kind of the reason. It's a utility card. It's also a bit of a low roll card. You don't see your Dura Greymon. It's
your backup.
It's a backup more or less. So that's what I mean. It's just a 5th target for my level 5, and it is just so much better than that Dex Daruga, because like I said, that feels terrible to put on the stack without the Dura Grey.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's get into our megas now. Alphamon. So these 2 are just alt arts. This is the same one. I just play 3 of the BT9 one. I know some people like to play the BT6 one. I think the BT6 one is good. I won't go on about it because I don't play it, but more or less the way I view the BT6 one is it's a bad or a Yukon mode. And people play it kind of similar reasons why I play the Sooner Rises or the Grademon. If you don't see your Yukon mode, it's a pretty good substitute for it.
Right.
Personally, I don't play it because I just don't have the space in the list for it. But yeah, I think that's a great option, but this card's insane. So what it does is you Digivolve for 3, you can place a source from your trash. Usually you want to get this Oriamon, which we'll talk about later. And that's why I've really spoken about trying to discard this as often as possible, because usually this is the card you want to grab off this when you're Digivolving, because it grabs from trash. Once you put something underneath, it de-Digivolves something by 1. That's really damn good. Because sometimes, whether it's it doesn't matter what deck it is. If they leave something suspended on board, normally it's a really big mega. Yep. You Digivolve that by 1. Normally it's a suspended champion, ultimate, sorry, or level 5.
Easy hits.
And you put this underneath, you swing over it, you unsuspend, and then you can go into your Yukon mode and start hitting their security. So it's a really good board control card. It's a really good board breaker. It's a good stack breaker. It's just an amazing card. I don't think I really have to say much more about it. The other level 6. Now, Oriamon's super important. I'm not going to talk about its text here because you pretty much, I think maybe one game in the tournament I had to go into this just because I didn't see Alphamon.
Right.
You know, like you can go into it if you really, really have to, but you want to avoid that. You mainly want to throw this in your bin, as I've mentioned a few times now, and you want to shuffle it under with your Alphamon. Preferably you want to have one in your bin and maybe one in your hand, and we'll talk about why you want to do that a little bit later. So I'm not going to talk about the top half of this card because it's not really that relevant. I just want to talk about the inheritable. If this Digimon has Alphamon in its name, unsuspend. Unsuspending's broken. So enough I'll say about that. So your level 7 has Alphamon in its name as well, so it lets you unsuspend. The only thing I will talk about, if you have two of these in your stack at the same time and you swing, you'll only unsuspend once because they trigger at the same time.
Yep.
But we have a little cheat code to get around that, which I'll explain a little bit later. So, like I said, keep one of these in your bin, keep one of these in your hand. And I've probably explained why you have it in your bin already. I'll explain why you need one in your hand as well in a little bit for OTKs. But yeah, this pretty much, it's something you want to shuffle under, give yourself more unsuspends, more attacks, more security checks. All right, big boss monster of the deck. Alphamon Oryuken mode. This card's broken. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yep.
So, usually it digivolves for 7, but if you have Alphamon on top and Oriamon in the Digi-Evolution sources, which most of the time you will, it costs 3. When you digivolve, deletes everything with is the highest play cost? Yes, highest play cost. Yep. So it's pretty much an Iron Fist for 3 memory off the bat.
Good.
So pretty good. Now, its other effect is when the turn ends, you can discard as many sources that have X antibody in them as you want to gain 1 memory. So a lot of the time, you know, I talked about being at 6, you play your Duragreymon, you go to 3, you play your Alphamon, you go to 0, you play this, you go to 3. You just trash 3 sources, you're back at 0.
Yep,
easy. And you can attack. Like if you haven't had to swing over a stack, you can attack with this twice. You know, normally clearing like 2-3 checks at a time. In some cases, you can OTK, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, really good card, really broken card. Like, who would have thought playing a level 7 that's pretty much an Iron Fist for free is really good? You know, that's all I really have to say about that. I guess I could talk about ratios. I know some people played at 2. I prefer it at 3 because you definitely need to see one of it. The deck is just nowhere near as good without it. And it's also a reason why people play the BT6 Alphamon, because it's like a worse version of this.
Yeah, I get it.
Cool. Tamers. Cool boy. Broken. That's all I need to say about it.
You gotta play 4.
It costs 2 mana. You flip top 3. You add anything with an X antibody in its traits, which is pretty much your whole deck. Like, I think everything besides the Sunhorizamon I've showed so far has X antibody.
Yep.
As you've probably noticed, you need to get a lot of pieces. This helps you get them all in a really efficient cost. Like, if you're going second, they leave you on 3 memory. Just cool boy.
Yeah, it's a great play.
You know, you get 2 pieces. The other thing it does, if you digivolve into something of the same level, you suspend it, and it has X antibody in its traits, you suspend it to gain 1 memory and draw a card. So that's targets for our Dex Darugamon, the one that gives retaliation blocker, and the other one that I played 2 of. So usually you want to do this on your Dex Daruga, and like that'll help you get to the magic 6 number I was talking about before.
Yep.
And it helps you just draw an ass ton of cards. The amount of times I've played games where I'm like, I've got a stack and I'm missing maybe the Duragreymon, or maybe I'm missing Oryuken, or I'm missing an Oriamon or something like that, and I have a couple of these on field. I'd just promote, go into that Dex Daruga, suspend like 2-3 of these, and half the time you just draw into the pieces you need.
Yeah, I love to see.
So don't be afraid to be a bit risky because you draw so many cards when you promote with this thing.
Yeah, very true, very true. The X antibody tamer.
Yeah, so into the black tamers. So Coda is our memory tamer. I'll talk about my ratios here. So I've got 3 Coda and 2 Yuji. One of the changes I'd probably like to make is put this to 2 and this to 3.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I'll explain why as I go through them. The reason I did play 3 Coda, I thought I was going to run into a lot more D-Reaper than I actually did.
This is good.
And this really helps with D-Reaper because D-Reaper tries to choke you constantly. Funnily enough, I didn't play 1 D-Reaper the whole day, so...
Yeah, we never burst.
Yes, like, you know, it was kind of like, it's still a good card in other matchups, but I definitely would have preferred to have the 3 Yuji in almost every other matchup. So anyway, maybe just went a little bit, you know,
You did test with me a lot.
Yeah,
so
I did test with
that might
D.
have
That probably,
might have
fed
made
into my
you-
thing. And I thought
yeah.
it was going to be a really good deck that day and just didn't end up running into it. I guess we could run into each other at top cut. It just
Yeah,
didn't
we
happen.
could have. It just didn't happen.
Yeah, anyway, so Coda, standard memory tamer. You're at 1 or 2, set yourself to 3. On play, it's kind of like Davis, except for you flip top 4, add an X antibody. You know,
Yeah,
so it's
not
just,
bad.
just more search. Really good. Now, Yuji.
Oh, Yuji.
So Yuji's a little bit like a bond tamer. If you have an X antibody and you promote it, you gain 1 memory and draw 1 card. Helps you get to that magic 6 number that we spoke about earlier. Also, its other effect. When you attack with an X antibody, you can suspend this to put an X antibody underneath. Now, the reason why this is so good is this pretty much enables OTKs for this deck. Because when you go into that Alphamon, you put the Oriamon from your bin, right? And you remember how before I said if you have 2 Oriamons at the same time and you attack, you only unsuspend once?
Yeah, they both trigger.
They both trigger. So what you do to get around that is you attack once, you unsuspend with the Oriamon you already have. You attack a second time, you suspend Yuji, then put the second Oriamon underneath, and then it triggers to attack 3 times.
That's big brain.
Yeah.
I wondered why they did that. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That's why you do it, and that's and like out of that day, like so in Swiss, I won 3 rounds, drew 2 rounds.
Yep.
Every round I won, I think I won 2-0, and almost
'Cause of
every
Yuji?
win was like UG,
Yeah,
just
so
OTK.
you gotta bump it up.
That's why I want to bump it up. It won me so many games that day for that specific combo. So
Yeah, very fair,
Really
very
good tamer. Raises the ceiling of your deck like crazy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
and also a big reason why I say keep 1 Oriamon in the bin and always keep 1 in your hand.
Yeah, 1 in
for
the
the
hand.
UG.
I dig that. I like that philosophy.
Yeah. So if that's my little probably nugget for this this
Yeah,
deck.
I dig it. I dig it.
2 black memory boosts. If you know what memory boost does, good card. Helps you search for pieces. Also, on the turn you need to get to 6. Helps you get to 6.
That's true. You said it's the magic number.
Yep. So don't need to say much about that. Kongu turns off security control. Really good. Stops you getting hybrided for game as well. So what Kongu does, anything that has play cost of 7 or less can't attack for a turn.
Yep.
And you can't add you can't add cards to either player's security stacks. Why that's important? Chaos Degradation doesn't work when you play this card.
That's right.
So, also, if you're playing against SentCon, you hit a Holy Wave, nah. You hit a Tactical Retreat, nah. They have a Salamon raising that it can't attack and it
it can't attack
it
or
attack
recover.
or recover. It's really good. So
Yeah.
it's really
I
good.
never thought of it.
Yeah,
like that,
it's
yeah.
really good against SecCon. If Yellow Hybrid was still running around, you'd probably play this at like almost a 4
Oh,
off.
that's true.
But Yellow Hybrid's not around anymore. In some matchups, it's really in the mirror, it pretty much just stops you getting hybrided for game.
Yeah, it's good against like armor and those.
Yeah,
rush kind of
those decks. But there's a lot of OTK decks now, so it's
Very true.
It's it's still a good card, but in some matchups, it's not that crash shot.
Yeah, I think
I find
two's
in
fine.
matchups where I don't need it. If I'm playing the Alphamon mirror, this is not that great.
It's pretty dead. Yeah.
If I'm on 1 and I'm like, I'll just pass you to 1.
That's
with
true.
Kongu. So
Cards that
it's-
cost 2 are good for passing.
that's what I mean. So maybe in matchups you're not too crazy about. If they haven't got their memory setter down, just go whack, leave them at 1. That's
Yep,
that's
off
probably,
you go.
That's probably the use for that card when you don't have it. Now, these 2 blank cards we have to get
Breath of
edited
the
in because
Gods.
I've lent Breath of the Gods to my friend Blake, who also is doing an Alphamon deck profile.
This is true.
Breath of the Gods, its main effect is more or less it gives you a Digimon reboot and it can't be bounced to the bottom of your deck or back to your hand. So it just, if you're about to swing into a stack, you're scared of Megadeth, you play this. You use it like a delicate plan if you're familiar with that card. Helps you protect you in the stack. Also, if you've just got a big stack there and you're worried about it getting bounced, you play this and it stops them Megadething you or Kaitis breathing you the next turn. The other thing it does is if you have the retaliation blocker on your stack and you've attacked twice, maybe 3 times, as I mentioned before, you get reboot.
Yep, and you're back.
You got a blocker on field. So
Yep.
a few different
So
uses
good.
for that deck, for that card. Last
The
2
text.
cards. So got Death Xmon. It's just like a 1-of. It's a really broken card. It's really good against armor. So what it does is it de-digivolves the whole everything on the board, and then it deletes everything level 4 or lower. Then on your opponent's turn, deletes everything with the lowest play cost. You play this against an armor deck, you just win. It's one of the main reasons I run it.
100%.
I'd say the matchup against armors is still pretty favored without this deck, but I'm like, if I can play a card that literally I just play and win the game,
Yeah, I'll play it.
Yeah, I'll play it as a 1-off.
Yeah, sure, why not?
X antibody. It comes up.
Super
It's a
searchable.
good security bomb as well. Just gaining one
Yeah.
memory. You know, if they're at 3, it's like cool. My turn now.
Yeah, no,
like not bad. Also, the other thing is when you go into Oryuken mode and you pass to 3. Usually you have to trash a lot of your resources and all of those inheritals we've gone through.
That's true.
If you have X
This is
antibody,
free.
it attacks before that happens. So you can do the pop off the Grademon, you can have the extra 1k, you can have extra security attacks, and then after the attack, you can trash your sources to go back to your turn.
Yeah.
So what you can do, the other thing you can do with this is, remember how I spoke about, the Oryamon only triggers once. If you've got the Yugi on field,
Yep.
you can swing, send the Oryamon that's already triggered back to your deck, and then shuffle the next one in with the Yugi. And this allows it. Plus, you can trash this with Oryuken mode to gain memory as well.
Yeah, makes
So,
sense.
if you just need an extra source, and that's pretty much the deck.
All right, very cool. Congrats on the results. You did make it to top 8, but first, do you want to tell me about your 5 rounds?
Yeah, so first round was against Shoutmon.
Oh, okay.
I won
Pretty random.
2-0. Yeah, I wasn't expecting a Shoutmon. I can't really tell you much about what that deck did because the games were over pretty quickly. Like, I think he maybe resolved one of his level 6 Shoutmons, and the strange thing with Alphamon is Alphamon pretty much plays into every deck the same way.
Yep.
Yeah, it's there's little tiny differences for different matchups, but they're very similar. So it's a little bit like a solitaire deck. When I played Shoutmon, I saw the nuts in both the games and just OTK'd him.
You always see it against the Jang decks,
Yeah,
I
pretty
swear.
good. Yeah. Second match was against Beelzemon. Won the first game because Alphamon did Alphamon things.
Yep.
Second game, he was actually rookie rushing me down, and I was looking like I was going to be in big trouble and I was going to drop that game. But he did 3 checks, and it was 2 Cool Boys and 1 Yugi, which gave me lethal. The Yugi gave
the
me
memory,
The
yep.
Yugi gave me the lethal from the combo that I have mentioned. When
Yep,
you
the
deck
combo.
profile.
Insane.
Deck profile. Third matchup was against Blake, who was another top cut guy with Alphamon. We had really sacky security, and that just dragged out to a draw.
Yep. So undefeated at this point.
yeah.
2 wins, 0 loss, 1 draw.
Yep.
Nice.
Fourth was against Nathan, who was playing Wargreymon X. Pretty much he bricked and I did. That was the
Yep.
difference between that. I won't say much more. We're both playing OT decks. He bricked, I didn't brick.
Yep.
I won
Makes
2-0.
sense.
And then the last one was against Alphamon as well, and it was pretty much a mirror of the other Alphamon one. We had really sacky security, kept hitting Breath of the Gods and Kongus and things. We couldn't kill each other, ended up timing out as well. And then once I got to top cut, I played Nathan, who I mentioned I played in the 4th round, and it
Yep.
was like the opposite. I bricked and he didn't, he won.
God damn. So wait, you went undefeated in Swiss?
Yep,
3 wins, 2 draws?
yep. I think I came 4th overall in Swiss, and then lost straight away in top cut.
Lost straight away
To
in
someone
top
who
cut.
I beat 2-0.
Well, there you go. It does happen. Well, congrats again. Thank you very much for the deck profile.
No worries. man.
Anything you change? Oh, you kind of spoke about changes
Yeah, I kind
going
of spoke
forwards.
about changes as we went through
Yugi?
it, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think I kind of spoke about combos and how they went through as we went through the profile, so I don't really have much else
All right,
to say.
sweet ass. Final question. Who is Joe?
Ask your mum.
Ooh!